And I do say blessed day to each and every one. Do give thanks to the life giver and the keeper of life, Emperor Haile Selassie I, in all good doings and saying. We glorify the Black Christ, the Honorable King Emmanuel Charles Edwards, Marcus Messiah Garvey. Give thanks for he said, look for him in the whirlwind and look for him in the earthquake. So look for him all around you. It is an honor that you could come and sup with us again in the Tiger's Nest. Of course, you know the Honorable Priest Isaac here with you. I have a wonderful interview that I'm looking forward to. This day, we have the good General, Brother General TAU-THAU from South Africa. He definitely should be in the waiting room even as I speak, and we should be conversing on Rastafari in Azania. We'll be talking about a little of the history of Rastafari in South Africa, and of course, its movement and exactly what is taking place now. According to some records, you know, the Rastafari community in South Africa should be one of the largest, if not the largest in the world. So we're definitely looking forward to Brother Tao Tau in a moment, who will be coming and uplifting us. Just reminding you, of course, you definitely have to get your Holy Grail, have to get your Holy Chalice. Look at this one here. Check this one here. This is a special little neat chalice. I don't know if you could pick it up from the difference here from the screen, but it's different. Where's okay, look at this. Look at this. Is it neat? Now this one is a calabash chalice, little and neat. You know, this is a special order for a sister in there in Brooklyn, who you will be getting this very soon. Yes, special, if you want to say neat chalice. Some people say the feminine type of chalice. But I mean, even if you're masculine, a nice little neat chalice is also good as well. It is made from calabash. So it's a bit more tricky to put together. But of course, you know, we also have the regular coconut, the chalice for sure. This is the Ancient of Days. Of course, everything well set. So make sure you order your cup today. So when you come and you're sitting with us, you could blaze up in the same way. Gotta bless up the brother Andrew Benyon, pardon me. He sent me his picture of his chalice just received, and he seemed to be extremely overjoyed. I know how you feel. So definitely order your chalice. All the brothers in South Africa too. A few people internationally was contacting me because, as you know, with the coronavirus business, there's a lot of restrictions throughout the earth with mailing and different things coming from certain places. But I've figured it all out, man. I had to sit and figure that thing out. So definitely, wherever you are in the earth, you just contact us. Some of the brothers and sisters in South Africa, I think it was Brazil, and a few other places were asking about getting the chalice to their region. Just recontact me again. That is definitely something that can be done. Just reminding you, man, it's this Wednesday. Is this Wednesday, as we're talking about chalice. Please don't take this as a joke. This Wednesday evening, it is a Chalice in Wonderland. This is going to be a very dynamic and extremely interesting lecture. For those who are not aware, this is going to be one of our online lectures. You know, the Honorable Priest Isaac Online Lectures presents, again, a must-see. We're talking about Chalice in Wonderland. And again, that's Wednesday, the 14th of April, 2021. As I said, this is something you're going to definitely need to sit in and bring your whole family, man. It's 7 p.m. Eastern Time, Eastern Standard Time. That's in the evening. And the admission to add to the mission is only $20 United States currency for sure. And yeah, add to the mission. That's what it means. Add mission. You add to the mission. That's why if you're serious about the mission, for example, just say you're watching and you say, oh, I don't want to see that lecture. That's all right. You should still send the $20 and add it to the mission if you have a good understanding of exactly what the work is all about. And that's how we need to think, you know. I know people will hear me say that and say, oh, hear how he talk. I do the same thing. You see, that's the problem. A lot of us, we are very selfish in our thoughts. I do the same thing. I mean, there are things I look at and say, wow, okay. I don't think I'll be going, but let me add to the mission. I'll still buy my ticket. You have never done that? I'm sure some child trying to sell you some sort of ticket for something, some dinner, something, some all sorts of things. I'm okay. And you just pay them for the ticket. Wow, sir, you forgot your ticket. It's all right. Give it to somebody else. You understand? So that's how we live. That's why when we come here, we commune as a family. It's family business I'm on to right here. I hope we can definitely see that. So I'm looking forward to see my family. Yeah, I'm talking about this Wednesday evening. I'm talking about 7 p.m. Eastern Caribbean time plus Eastern Standard Time. It's the same time. And of course, the Cash App link for sure on the video will be in the description. But for those who may not see it, it's Atonra, A-T-O-N-R-A, 2723. And of course, when you send the money via the Cash App, you should contact us via the email, priestisaac27@gmail.com. And that is how we will send you your electronic key. So you could enter into the lecture room that evening as we take this thing to another level, believe me. And as I said, you should have your chalice. That is going to be a very, very wonderful exchange. All right, so as I said, Brother Tao Tau should be here. As I have my chalice ready, just give me a moment and I will go and see in the background here if I see my good brother. Let me see. And remember, of course, all the material, all of our ebooks are available on the Amazon. So you could definitely check Amazon and check Priest Isaac on Amazon, and you could check the books, you know. And for sure, as it relates to the chalice, we also ship to the Amazon. Yeah, no, let me be clear. No, you can't go on Amazon and order our chalice. Yeah, I'm telling you, we ship to the Amazon, South America, man. All right, okay. Yes, once again, blessed love. And as I said, officially, yes, we are here with the good brother, the good general. He's here with us, and he's doing quite well. I know some of you who would definitely follow the king would know that he was in the hospital a few days ago, but he's definitely doing much better. So we give thanks and praise to His Majesty for that. Yes, my family, as I promised, the good general is here, General Tao Tau, straight from South Africa here with us. And he's definitely here to give us some good vibration as we will be speaking of exactly what's taking place in Africa, South Africa, Southern Africa. I know the good brother has traveled throughout Africa, you know, dealing with the unification of Rastafari. In fact, he's the president of Rastafari United Front. And as I said, those of you who follow Rastafari in general, you know that even in South Africa, as it relates to, you know, children going to school with their locks, children going to school with their head covered, the whole aspect of ganja and marijuana, it's always on the forefront. The brothers and the sisters, they're always on the forefront. A lot of us, we kind of miss what's going on over there. But I'm honored that I could have the good general with us, somebody who's definitely with boots on the ground, you know, always somewhere doing the work. So my good brother, it is an honor for you to be with us here in the Tiger's Nest. And blessed love to you. Man, you can greet me in African, you know, you don't have to talk
English. Yes, I blessed love, my Lord. Honorable Priest Isaac, and the viewers, and everyone at home and abroad. I greet you in the name of His Majesty Kedemawi Emperor Kedemawi Haile Selassie and Her Majesty Kedemawi Titega Menen. I also greet you in the name of the Rastafari United Front, which I'm its president, and I greet you also in the name of the Rastafari Continental Council, which I'm its deputy chairman for the continent of Africa. And in the name of Bake Hase, which is the Order of Rastafari, Indigenous Order of Rastafari we have in South Africa here. I say Tobela, Dumelang, Tokozani, Wongo Muntu Nyalibulisa. I greet you all in our Nguni languages here, our Zulu Xhosa language. I'm saying greetings. Rastafari is the Almighty. And give thanks. for affording I this platform to share and to reason with I family globally, at home and abroad.
Yes, my brother. As I said, it's a great honor because, you know, in time to come as we're moving on, this is a generational thing, and, you know, we have to wean off of this language that we're speaking. And, you know what I mean? I know we like to watch tutorials and read books, but it's better I sit down with you and learn my tongue and sit down with my brothers at home. That's why repatriation and all these things are key, because we have to get our tongue back and a lot of our expression and you know, even our singing, dancing, and some of the stuff that we express in our churchical service, we need to apply a more African tone to it. I see that very much, very important. But it's all a process, though. But my good brother, if you could give us a moment of, again, give thanks for your health and wealth too. Before we get into yourself, because I know you are part of the process, if you could just, you know, take a few moments and give us an understanding of how Rastafari rose up in that region. I know Rastafari is creational, you know, we know that, but there's a history to it, you know, Jamaica, and we all know how it is spread through the Caribbean. So where did, you know, Africa, the motherland, and maybe Southern Africa more so fit in before we come to you personally?
Give thanks. In 1927, from 25, 26, in Kimberley, in the Northern Cape in South Africa, there it is Kimberley is almost like Panama. It's got two main made holes that the black people were made to dig that hole. In the case of Panama, is the Panama Canal. In Kimberley is the big hole where they were the biggest open mine where they were digging diamonds. So around that time, from 1919, actually, the former Secretary General of the ANC, the African National Congress, used to distribute the Negro World, Marcus Garvey's newspaper called the Negro World. And then in 1925, 26, there was a church called the Hermetic Church, or the AACC, the Athley Afro Construction Church, based on the teachings of Athley Rogers, the Holy PB, the Black Man's Bible. And apparently South Africa is currently the keeper of the bigger PB, the small PB, the PB that is circulating around, they say is a small PB. So the Secretary General of the ANC who was circulating the Negro world was also in possession of the PB and some other people, and then they established the church, the Hermetic Church, or the Church of the Sons of the Children of Ham, or the Afro-Athlete Construction Church. So in 1927, the Union of South Africa, before South Africa was a Republic of South Africa, it was a Union of South Africa, which was established in 1910 by the British and the Boers to disenfranchise the Africans. So the Union of South Africa in 1927, they banned that church and they banned the Holy PB, accused it of sedition. And then from there, with the evolution of Rastafari, Leonard Howell, this is some of the records, we have them in the Africa Institute in Pretoria. Some of them became part of the research papers that were unearthed as time goes. But there's a quotation where Leonard Howell is saying, the seed of Rastafari come from Kimberley, South Africa. Among the diamond diggers, it has a confluence of revolutionaries from all over the black world who were gathering there. Hence, I say, as early as 1920, they were already distributing the Marcus Garvey newspaper, the Negro World. You must understand that also one of the great strongholds of Ethiopianist movement, before there was a Pan-Africanist movement, there was an Ethiopianist movement, which is mainly based on the biblical references of Ethiopia. One of the great places of the Ethiopianist movement is South Africa. In 1892, a church was established called the Ethiopian Church of South Africa. So I'm taking you through this history to take you through the seeds, the roots, the ingredients that went into Rastafari. As we know that later when Rastafari evolved, we'll cite up the Mau Mau in Kenya for the dreadlocks, we'll cite up the Bakongo heritage, the Kumina, all these type of things. They went into Rastafari as a melting pot of different African tradition. although with a strong attempt to streamline them under Judeo-Christianity, although most of them are beyond Judeo-Christianity, are outside of Judeo-Christianity, and so forth. So in the 1930s, Leonard Howell make a mention of the seat of Rastafari come from Kimberley, South Africa. Now forward to 1960.
Leonard Howell mentioned that.
Yeah, Leonard Howell mentioned that even if you go through the Howellites, you know, the followers of Leonard Howell, I think one of them is Mama Gertrude, the elder woman. One of them, if you check some of their interviews, one of them mentioned that Leonard Howell used to tell them at Pinnacle that the seat of Rastafari come from Kimberley in South Africa, from the earthly Afro Construction Church, or the Hermetic Church that was established on the basis of Athley Rogers' teaching. So now in 1960, one of the former president of South Africa, he mentioned that as a protest to apartheid regime for imprisoning some of the political leaders, they began to grow their hair in locks as a form of protest, just as bits and pieces of practices that went into Rastafari here in South Africa as a resistance movement against oppression. But then it began 1975 with the visit of Jimmy Cliff. Jimmy Cliff was invited in 1975 to come and perform in Soweto in the heat of the apartheid system. So after the coming of Jimmy Cliff, it was the biggest festival, and then from there, Rastafari as a movement that is associated with Jamaica, with reggae music, with redemption songs, began in South Africa from 1975. So most of our elders we are having here, their evolution, their genesis within the movement, it dates from that time, 1975, 76, 77, 78, and so forth, until myself in 1990, you know? So it became generations like that. So 75, it was more reggae inspired. 1980, there was a brethren called Levi who introduced the 12th tribe of Israel, which is a very unique 12th tribe from the 12 tribes as we know it in Jamaica and England and those I've seen in Ethiopia. It's actually the most, you will say the most ital, the most, you know, they're keeping it natural. They don't do like how, you know, the 12 tribe, they will use their tobacco, their, you know, drinks, and sometimes the woman don't cover. But the 12 tribe around here, they are Old Testament based. They celebrate the Old Testament festival, the new moon, the Feast of Tabernacles, and all of these things that I mentioned in the Old Testament. They are still based on that. They keep the Sabbath, they close the gate on Friday, and if you are late, you stay outside of the gate until Saturday evening when the Sabbath is sealed. So they become the oldest organized mansion of Rastafari, the 12th tribe, not with so much direct link and influence from Prophet God, the founder of the 12th tribe, but with an influence of hearing 12 tribe mentioned in reggae songs and citing up the Bible. Particularly Bob Marley's LPs had a lot of quotations from the Bible. You know, in the back of the LPs, there will be some quotations. So they were mainly guided by biblical quotations that they were picking up from reggae interviews, reggae artists, and so forth. So at one time in South Africa, we were all 12 tribes of Israel.
Okay.
Then 1996, actually from 92, the seed of Nyabinghi was planted by Elder Jabulani. He's from Jamaica via England. He stayed in Africa for 39 years now. He was based in Zimbabwe, but he's currently in South Africa. I work a lot with him. He's our international advisor in the Rastafari United Front, our international advisor on repatriation. And he's also an elder advisor within our Rastafari Continental Council, which we established in 2018. So Elder Jabulani became the first to plant the seed of the Nyabinghi in South Africa. He was traveling with Ras Wuldi, the priest from England, and Sister Makida. So they were the very first one to plant the seed of the Nyabinghi. But then it was officialized 1996 with the trot of Ras Bonajis, Congo Wato, That was the biggest event actually. And in South Africa, when they celebrate Nyabinghi anniversaries, they trace it back to 1996 to that biggest event. That is actually when Bongo Watu and most of the delegation made an observation that, okay, South Africa have the largest Rastafari community in the world. We are basically 3 million Rastafari. So we are more than almost everybody in Jamaica. Everybody, Rasta, non-Rasta, street kids, hobos, everybody. You understand? So we have the largest community. But also this thing is an attribute of oppression because we were the last to be liberated in Africa. So when you're fighting oppression, you're fighting colonialism, you hold on to different liberation ideologies, theologies, and philosophy. And Rastafari found a fertile ground in that particular environment of heavy oppression. So 1996, Nyabinghi was introduced. And then going forward, 98, 99, Bobo Shanti started to come through music. Sizzla Kalonji, when the youth listening to Sizzla and Capleton, at one time they were having two camps where we used to call them the Sizzla Eyes and the Capletonites, and then they called them David House and this. And the other problem again, the other misfortune of Rastafari in Africa is that when we turn Rastafari, we tend to turn Jamaican. We try to imitate Jamaicans, how they speak, how they do things. You understand? Sometimes we even bring Jamaicans arguments and fights among ourselves. You know, so then Bobo Shanti came in 1999 through music, but then formally around 2004, 5. There was then a delegation of the Bobo Shanti led by Priest Maddock, traveling with the Honorable Adva and other honorables. I forgot their names. And then formally we started to have formal structures of the Bobo Shanti, following the tradition, keeping the Sabbath, wearing their turban and robe, and then in the same breath, before the birth of the Bobo Shanti, into the year 2000, Rasta, we were still grappling with the issues of burial. Rasta don't attend burial. Let the dead bury the dead, mimicking Peter Tosh words and all that. And then in the midst of that, it was a problem because burial is very sacred, in Africa. Right. Whether in the Bible, everybody in the Bible was buried. The one who are not buried is Moses and Enoch and Elijah, but everybody else was buried. In Africa, in Ethiopia, His Majesty buried his 3 children. His Majesty went on to bury his Empress Menen. And then, so we find that not burying the dead, it is non-African. It is not even African. It's not Ethiopian. It's not even biblical. It's just not human. So we established the Melchizedek Order. I founded the Melchizedek Order. We wear black turban, and then as a ceremonial order, the first order to bury Rasta, to establish ceremonies for burial. But we did not stop at the burial. Now we went on into baptism. That what separate a Rasta from non-Rasta? When you say you are Rasta, where do we draw the line? And then we introduce a baptism system where we baptize in the name of Haile Selassie. We just created our own stuff. We just created our own stuff to just go through because we understood very early that Jamaica has said it and Rastafari has said it, that this is the half of the story. The half that is not being told. And we understood that it's half of the story because now here you are receiving a tradition from Jamaica which doesn't explain a whole lot of things like how do you bury, how do you marry, what happened when somebody begin to receive a calling to be a traditional healer, which is very much prevalent among Rastas here, because most of the things that we do as Rastafari is the same thing you find in traditional healing: ganja smoking, beating of the drums, dreadlocks, burning of them pepper, incense, the invocation of Nyabinghi. Nyabinghi, but beyond just what Jamaica has recreated in its African origin, is a shamanistic order, that comes from Uganda, which I traveled to Uganda in 2001 and met the oracle to go and find out, because then in the process, I became a 12th tribe member until 1996. Then I became a member of the Nyabinghi house. 98, I became a Bingi priest on a provincial and national level. And then 2000, I traveled throughout Africa to Uganda. I wanted to understand more of the tradition, because whenever you ask, where does Nyabinghi come from? you're always met with half stories. At one time, when you read Horace Campbell's book, Rasta and Resistance, he make mention of Nyabinghi being a queen of Rwanda. So I went to Rwanda and Uganda, but I find that strong evidence suggests that Nyabinghi is a Ugandan tradition. So I spent 6 months searching for Nyabinghi, the rules and everything, until I meet the oracle, until I get to know the difference between the indigenous Nyabinghi tradition and the biblical Nyabinghi created in the Western Hemisphere in Jamaica. So now we came back with what I knew. I couldn't identify with Nyabinghi as it is. So I kind of like break away and establish the Melchizedek Order, which incorporated other things that were not really found in Rastafari, like the burial, the acknowledgement of one's ancestors. One of the things that for you to be part of our order, you should be able to tell us 5 of your ancestors, who's your father, who's your father's father, and so forth. But also taking it from His Majesty, that His Majesty used to demand that a man must be able to count 10 of his ancestors. Otherwise, you are not considered to be a free man. So you have to know yourself. So then we introduced the system of the washing of the feet, the opening of the building, the officiation of the marriages, and so forth. One of the last funerals we did was this year in January, of the passing of our matriarch, Mama B, who came in 1998 to assist Bongo Time in establishing Nyabinghi in South Africa. So then I had to deal with the Melchizedek house, Melchizedek Order, biblical Melchizedek, Ethiopian Melchizedek. I traveled to Ethiopia to study more. My thing is, whatever I get involved with, I love to study it in details. What is it? So I'd rather go to the roots. Like I had to, when I had deep questions about Rastafari, I finally made a trip to Jamaica in 2016 and find out what is this whole thing. And then in terms of how it operates, where is the central authority? It looked like there's not even a center here, because I'm in the business of unity. So you try to find out which part can we explore to unite. So 2000, we have the Melchizedek Order. 2004, 5, we have the Bobo Shanti introduced. And then 2007, there was a great schism within the Melchizedek Order. There were others now who are more advocating Christology, Christhood. So we broke up. Then there was a Melchizedek Order that put on white turban, and then we remain with the black turban, and then we stopped dealing with Judeo-Christianity. We stopped dealing with the Bible. We base Rastafari on indigenous African spirituality. What were the Africans believing in before the Europeans came here with the Bible?
And this is the original Melchizedek foundation. That's your foundation, not the break off, if you want to call it that.
Yeah,
that's
our foundation.
All right, good.
So we converted the original Melchizedek foundation. We converted it to, because when we started to reject the Bible, we reject everything that has to do with the Bible, the name Melchizedek, everything. So we converted it to Bake Hase.
No more Melchizedek.
The original Melchizedek foundation, we turn it to Bake Hase. And then the other breakaway Melchizedek remain with the name, and with their changed uniform, their changed baptism system. We used to baptize 7 times in the water. They come in and start to do 3 times. They change a whole lot of things there. And then they try more to be like Ethiopian Christian church. And
so you don't baptize the cut, but you don't baptize anymore.
We don't baptize anymore.
Okay.
We do, but we do it in a very indigenous way now. We don't do it like,
fair enough.
Because in every African spiritual system, there is that initiation process. You need to initiate from one level to the other, and ritual is central. So baptism is one of those rituals that is performed. So, and then we took on Bake Hase. Now, Bake Hase is Ba, which is Bantu, Batu, people or soul. Or soul is Ba. But Kehase is an abbreviation of the name of Haile Selassie. It's Ke for Kademawi, Ha for Haile, Se for Selassie. Now, saying Bakehase is like saying the people of Haile Selassie. We chose that, Bakehase, meaning those of Haile. And then we based our thing on Pan-African teachings of Haile Selassie, where Haile Selassie talk about Africa, where Haile Selassie talk about African spirituality, African culture, because you hear His Majesty, he talks, mostly Rasta love to quote His Majesty's Christian speeches and his Christian faith and his confession of faith. But His Majesty go on and say, yes, I'm a Christian, but as a king, I'm equally a Christian, a Muslim, and a pagan. Now we took the pagan part because usually the pagan, they relate to the African indigenous practices in Ethiopia, the practices of the Oromos, the Sidama tribes, the not so dominant tribes, but indigenous tribes of Ethiopia, whom we share same cultural unity, because we know that also the Ethiopian culture for the past 3,000 years is Judeo-Christian. From Queen of Sheba met Solomon. You can read in the Kabranegas that she came back with the religion of Solomon and tell the Ethiopians to stop worshiping what they were worshiping, and they changed their culture. They adopted Solomon's culture. So they move away from their indigenous worship system and they bring in the concept of the God of Israel. And then 2,000 years ago, they accepted Christianity. As His Majesty said, we in Ethiopia received first the religion of the Old Testament, and we receive first the religion of the New Testament. Now the question is, receive it from where? Obviously, it's received from outside of Ethiopia. So we don't get too much into debate with people trying to tell us that, oh, this thing is African, what. Which tribe in Africa have a name called Jesus? You know, which tribe in Africa, people's names are Paul, Peter? Those are not even African names. Which tribes in Africa believe in these things that are found in there, which are very much an intolerant God? Most of African spiritual tradition, they talk of God the Mother, God the Father. It's not only God as Jehovah there alone and an angry God and so forth. So we look at the cultural differences and the idea that ultimately Rastafari, it should not separate us from our Africanness. It should be affirming our Africanness. Now, what we have seen then with the 12 tribes of Israel, Bobo Shanti and Nyabinghi coming from Jamaica and being taught here, they were taught more like a foreign religion, that you have to relinquish your African culture. Most of these Ides who follow these traditions, they don't have good relationship with their parents or with their ancestors because they develop the same thinking like the Western missionaries. You know, they come and tell you that your African tradition is pagan, your ancestors are demons, your African way of doing things.
That's what you experience in the Bingi. That's why you left the Bingi.
Yes, that's what I left the Bingi. That's what I experienced in the Bingi.
Honestly, just want to say quickly, because honestly, just quickly, not to cut your flow. I don't want to cut your flow, but I know for sure, because I have my own experience, that there's a heavy lack of understanding, especially coming through the years, with certain things that are Afrocentric, as you said, you know, especially even reading the Bible, and you would hear of how Egypt would and the captivity zone. So somehow we translate that to the place they call Egypt today. And so there's a lot of things. I understand that part. But I come to believe that we are a bit more mature now. For a good while now, I don't think I've come across such ignorance, me personally, where, especially as you said, ancestor worship and acknowledging your ancestors. It's a while I've come across anybody that said he's a Rasta that trying to diss ancestor communication. Honestly, I just saying that.
No, I mean, you are in the West, and this is where all of these things we receive from. If there's going to be any evolution of consciousness or change in the doctrine or the attitude, it will start there in the West. I told you that most of I and I here, when they become Rasta, they turn Jamaican. They think, okay, this is what Jamaican want. I mean, like, okay, some will preach like that. Some priest Maddock will say, or I heard some youths, I did not really hear him directly. I heard some of the Bobo youths, they will say, no, He encourages embracing some of the African spirituality, and at the same time also is condemning other things about African ancestors and so forth. So you will definitely expect, as much as you would expect also, there is a great movement across the board, across the Bingi. You get some ones in the Bingi, in the Bobo, in the 12 tribe who are holding on to their African roots and the African culture and the African spirituality. There is a great awakening as much as there is still great ignorance, because most of people think when they articulate that ignorance, they are actually articulating a confession of faith. It's like when you say, yeah, these African things, ancestor things are backward, it makes you more Rasta. You know, like when you bash African culture, you feel like it makes you more Rasta. You understand? So I've been called names, and half of them they are tired. Some they begin to join us, and all of that. From we are pagan, and you ask why? Because I'm advocating a return to ancestral consciousness, a return to African spirituality, an African world view, and life view. I mean, most of these things, they don't even have conflict. And the sad part is most of these African youths who are condemning this African spirituality, they're the second generation of Africans, in a sense that their parents and their grandparents were converted into Christianity. So therefore, they are coming to an Africa that they know little about. Even when they tell you that these things are pagan, they can't even make a paragraph for you to explain to you how is it pagan. They don't know what they're dealing with. But when you start to deal with these things, you study them, the Zimbabwean cosmology, Muari, you learn the same thing, but these things have a lot to complement Rastafari in terms of ital livity. The Zimbabwean cosmology, they tell you that the god Muari said to Musigavanu that tell the people that you must never eat animal, you must only eat plants. Now some will be saying, oh, we condemn these African practices because they shed blood. They do goat sacrifice. They slaughter chickens. You understand? And some they think they are better than their parents because their parents eat meat. And they will even have funny names like, oh, they are vampires, they are cannibals, all this type of nonsense, which is an expression of deep-seated ignorance. But then through engagement, through reasoning, there are changes. And through information that is coming up, there are changes, steady changes, where people are really beginning to awaken to their own African reality. Like now there is an initiative that was started by Empress Marina from New York, but I think born in Jamaica. She used to be she's a Bobo Empress. She started this initiative, African Rastafari New Faculty of Overstanding, where we are having webinars. We are planning a summit in May in Ethiopia or Ghana. Yeah, still on. And where one of the things that will be reflected on is Rastafari and African spirituality, Rastafari and African culture. Where is the meeting point? Where can one see divinity outside of Rastafari? Can African spirituality show you divinity? Of course it can. I mean, there is no tribe in Africa that has no name of a god. All of this tribe, all the 3,000 tribes in Africa have a name of God, and this name was not introduced by foreigners, by Muslims, or by European Christians. And all of these tribes have their divine origin. If you ask them where they come from, ultimately they point you to the creator. You ask the Xhosa people, where do you come from? You come from Embo. Where is Embo? That is what Kamata is, which is Umdali, which is the creator. You ask the Zulus, the word Zulu means heaven. So the Zulu means those who descended from the heavens. Now, you're ignorant of the etymology of this thing. What does these names mean? Where is the natural origin of these people? Where do they say they come from? All of the Africans, ultimately, they tell you that they come from God. There is no one single tribe that tell you that it comes from Satan. Now you come and you repeat what the colonizers and the enslavers said and say, you people are pagans, you are heathen, and you repeat it in the name of Rastafari. You understand? It's a serious backwardness we're dealing with. So that is on the one aspect of cultural revolution within Rastafari, but also on the side of the Rastafari unity, we acknowledge there are two schools of thoughts currently, the African school of thought and the biblical school of thought. And we also, that is dominant in this movement, but we also acknowledge that we acknowledge our diversity, that we're diverse, even from different houses, even all those who read Bibles, Bobo being a 12 tribe, they are still diverse. We acknowledge our diversity, but we emphasize our commonality, that common about us, we are Rastafari, irrespective of house, irrespective of which school of thought. Common about us, we are Rastafari, and Rastafari is Africans, and Rastafari defend Africa. Rastafari talks about repatriation. Rastafari talks about we will not give away a continent for an island. So therefore, we all agree that Rastafari will have to bow to a continental thinking than an island mentality.
Definitely. Yes,
so,
Rastafari. Go ahead.
So we have been. So we have been in 14. We're now in 14 countries, 16 countries, where we have established Rastafari United Front structures in order to create African unity. So we established these structures of unity in 16 countries. And then in 2000, and actually the Rastafari United Front was formed in 2014. It's got three set of triple mandate. The first triple mandate is unity, development, and progress of Rastafari. That's the three focus: the unity of Rastafari, the development of Rastafari, and the progress of Rastafari. And the next set of triple mandate, it is a national organization, it's a continental organization, it's an international organization. And the third set of triple mandate, it is dealing with I said it's international, continental, and national. And it deals with unity, development, and progress. So, and then now the next aspect of it was in each year, we took that aspect. The national mandate, we fulfilled it to 2014 when we went to all the 9 provinces that form South Africa as a nation state. So we established in all provinces. Therefore, when we say it's a national structure, we mean it exists in all provinces. And then from the 2015, we went to 9 African countries to fulfill our second mandate, which is a continental mandate. We went to 9 countries, which we later, 2016, 17, 18, until they go to 16 countries. And then in 2016, then we went to our third mandate, which is international mandate, which then we took a decision that we have to have a presence in South America, which we went to Brazil, in the Caribbean, which we went to Jamaica, in Central America, which we went to Panama, to establish our presence in those 3 places. So we succeeded in 2. We have a vibrant structure in Brazil, and then the one we established in Jamaica, it collapsed after 6 months or so. You know, there was some bit of, disagreements, internal disagreements, and so forth. And then in Panama, we actually got deported before we start our work. They locked us up in prison for a day, and then they deported us, and then we couldn't fulfill that mandate. But then we met brethren like Ras Eric and others that, no, this is our point, brethren, that for future mission, we will be able to link up with them. And then in 2017, we went to the All Africa Rastafari gathering in Shashamane. This gathering is the initial concept of the late Ras Muya Masimba. He passed in 2016. He's been staying, he's one of the builders of the Nyabinghi Tabernacle. He's from Jamaica. He stayed there for so many years with Bongo Solo. So Ras Muya always had this idea of an all-Africa Rastafari gathering where all Rastafari in the continent come together and Rastafari in the African diaspora come together to do an inter-Africa trade among Rasta. So then this was fulfilled in 2017, we went to Ethiopia. It was a big gathering, but within that gathering, on the 5th of November, having realized that continentally, Rastafari, we do not have a one continental superstructure. Then that is when we came up with the Rastafari Continental Council. And then it was then in the initial meeting, there were 12 African countries that were represented there. And then we agreed to a first summit of the Rastafari Continental Council in South Africa in Cape Town on the 25th of May, 2018. And then when we were in Cape Town, we were having about 20 African countries that were represented in the Rastafari Continental Council. And currently we have about, and then in 2019, we went to officially launch it, because we had our first summit, then we went to officially launch it in Ghana. That is where our chairman was elected from Ghana, Daddy Bosco, Ahuma Bosco Okanse, and then I was selected as his deputy chair from South Africa. And then we have our advisors, Queen Mother Moses from the US, and so forth. Legal advisors, Mama Marina from the US, special advisor Mama Desta from Ethiopia. So we are currently a continental body, which our aim was to create the OAU of Rastafari, the African superstructure that represent the Rastafari at the African Union level and on international level. So in 2019, we then, in November, we then again meet in South Africa for the All Africa Rastafari Gathering. We met in Ethiopia twice, 2017 and 2018, for the All Africa Rastafari Gathering. And then from there, we took a decision that this All Africa Rastafari Gathering should rotate the continent. So then 2019, we elected South Africa to be the next host country, which South Africa did host. And then 2020, we couldn't because of the lockdown. We then appointed Tanzania. We were supposed to have gone to Tanzania last year, so we will be going to Tanzania this year for our All Africa Rastafari Gathering and our mid-term summit of the Rastafari Continental Council. So this is where we are. And then nationally, of course, in 2018, Ganja was decriminalized. After many years of fighting, marching, and all that, it was decriminalized. And then Parliament was given 24 months to come up with new legislation. And then we set up Rastafari Ganja Council, which I'm the chairman of that Rastafari Ganja Council, to deal with also the collective struggle of Rastafari concerning Ganja. But also, I have led more marches of Ganja in this country more than anybody for the past 20 years. A lot of marches. From 2014 to 2021 alone, we have organized 15 marches alone, just for the agitation of Ganja, to the office of the president, to the parliament, because the amount of Rasta who get arrested here, it is too much, and for Ganja, and most of Rasta are unemployed and unemployable, and we look at Ganja as our cash crop, our green gold, our basic resource. So therefore, we have to establish structures to protect Rasta. And then, like I was saying that, yeah, the third triple mandate of the Rastafari United Front is a civil, it's a cultural, it's a faith right organization. It's an organization that is dealing with the civil rights of Rastafari, the cultural rights of Rastafari, and the faith rights of Rastafari. Hence, we have organized so many marches. Hence, I've had meeting with every president of South Africa about Rastafari except Nelson Mandela, from Thabo Mbeki, Jacob Zuma, Kgalema Motlanthe, the current Cyril Ramaphosa. Every one of them, we have had meeting with them concerning the plight of the Rastafari, mainly around the issues of Ganja, but also with around the issues of Ganja, and also with the with the children being chased from school, and also Rastas who are in the workplaces, they sometimes go through this thing, they call it the urine test, where they're trying to look at the cannabis content in the urine and therefore put you in the line to be on the unemployment sector, like they're going to fire. So the RUF, the Rastafari United Front, it worked as a union.
I saw a nice picture of you with Winnie Mandela too.
Yes, with Winnie Mandela. Yes, Winnie Madikizela Mandela. You know, I was asking her that actually I wanted to do an interview with her about Rastafari, because in 1996, when Rasbona just came here, they took him to go and see Winnie Mandela. Now, when Winnie Mandela was talking to Congo Watu, she said when Mandela was in prison in the heat of apartheid, Rastafari gave her comfort.
I would imagine.
She used to listen to reggae music, and the message of the Rastafari coming through reggae music gave her strength. So when you see me in that picture there, I was asking her that, will you be willing to do an interview and repeat what you said in 1996 about Rastafari and how it gave you strength to continue the struggle against apartheid? So basically, that is that picture. But most people try to speculate, what were you talking about? It looked like you're even pointing fingers at what, you know? But yeah, to give you a closer look of what we were talking about, that is exactly what I was asking her about then. So we are in South Africa, Rastafari is recognized as one of the 7 constitutionally recognized religions. So, or 7 constitutionally recognized faith-based community. So when you see me in a situation like that with Winnie Mandela, I would have been gone there, invited as a Rasta priest. When they do national events, they'll have 7 priests of 7 different religions. So I will go there also function as a priest. You know, I function as a general, as a president, grandmaster, a priest. So I do all of that. So where I call upon to come and do prayers, then that is where I was doing one of the prayers when you see me in that picture with Winnie Mandela. There are a lot of them. If some of them, they're on YouTube, you know, I have a whole lot of those and interviews on YouTube. If you just put THAU-THAU Haraman, you will find some interviews with SABC, the South African Broadcasting Corporation. I've done a whole lot of that in terms of Rastafari, marches, meetings, social cohesion, the programs that they come up with every now and then. When they celebrate 20 years of freedom, they'll call us and say, Rasta, give a speech. And then I'll be saying, oh, we've got nothing to celebrate here. We're still going to jail and our children are still chased from school, you know. So that sometimes put me in crosshairs with the powers that be. And sometimes it give us ears that they try to listen and try to hear that, oh, we're still having some minority in this country who are still not liberated. But all in all, that is one of the functions that we do as a Rastafari United Front, is the civil rights of the Rastafari community, the cultural rights of the Rastafari community, and the faith rights of the Rastafari community, because Rastafari is constitutionally recognized. And since it is constitutionally recognized, what is recognized by a constitution deserves to be protected and to be promoted like everything else. So that is the space that we occupy, that Rastafari should be protected and promoted as one of the faith-based communities that influence 57 million South Africans. They are not only influenced by Christianity, but they're also influenced by Islam, African religion, Buddhism, and also Rastafari. So those are the functions that we do nationally.
Since you were just there on that political stream there, Julius Melima. You know him personally? You have sat with him as well? Anything you can say?
We stay in the same location.
And I know you're a general too, you know, so.
We stay in the same area, the same location, literally the same. I'm in zone 2, he's from zone 1. But historically, our grandmothers are related. They share snave. I don't know if you know snuff.
Yes,
There's
no.
this thing old people they put in their noses and it will make you sneeze quite a lot. So they share snuff, they share their traditional beer, mkomboti, they stay in the same street. So I know him before he get into politics. He's younger than me, obviously. And I know him when he started into politics from COSAS, student, Congress of South African Student Movement, Congress of South African Students, and then to the ANC Youth League. He once came to my home in one of the days I was hosting the Rastafari gathering. He came in the early days before he has a car. He was just walking, come through. Somebody brought him. I used to be in the liberation movement. I'm a trained soldier, both in the liberation movement against apartheid, and I served for 4 years under Mandela's government from 1994 to 1998. So my Rastafari evolution and liberation movement evolution began same time at the age of 16, 15, 16. So now there was a time that he was brought to my home that, hey, come and talk to this youth. Then he was very rowdy. He organized a very violent march of the student. They broke the cars and what in the street when they were passing around. So one of the comrade Jack, came with him and said, hey, I need you to talk to this young man, because I'm one of the military veterans. So yeah, we will be called to advise these younger ones who never went to exile. Like he never went to exile. He never took part in the armed struggle. So every now and then the older generation will bring these younger ones and say, hey, talk to this one. He's got potential, but look like,
understand.
Yeah. So he calls me Comrade Rasta. When he see me, say, Comrade Rasta. Hey, what do you want here? Comrade Rasta. So so we know one another personally. He knows me. I mean, most people know me through TV also. I'm always on TV talking about Rasta. I'm the main. I mean, there are some Rastas who appear on TV, but I'm the main Rasta you see on TV about any subject about Rasta, whether Ganja or students' rights, So most of the people living around in my area, they know me through TV, but he know me both personally and through TV.
But let me ask too. With those countries that are within South Africa, like the Kingdom of Lesotho, and what's the other one? What's the other country in South Africa?
That are within South Africa, Lesotho and Swaziland.
Yes. So how is Rastafari within the Kingdom of Swaziland? Yeah, pardon me, and Lesotho. How is Rastafari within those specific zones?
Well, Rastafari is strong in those zones. I mean, they are also very much influenced by South Africa, but also they have their own independent way. Like Swaziland was visited by Peter Tosh, I think 1980, or 1981, or somewhere there. Peter Tosh visited Swaziland, and there was the largest reggae festival, about 150,000 people coming from South Africa, neighboring countries, Zimbabwe. They could not fill up the stadium, they were outside. So it had its own influence from both South Africa and internationally, but it's one of the places where they plant the best ganja. Most of the best ganja in Southern Africa here come from Swaziland. And then Lesotho also is a mountain kingdom with its own ganja that is coming into South Africa. So there is in and to and from migrations of the Basotho. Most of them, they work in South Africa. So even their relationship, like all our structures we have, our Bakehase, RUF, RCC, we have the branches of them in Lesotho. They become automatic. They do what we do, type of thing, and sometimes we have this big brother thing on them, both politically, economically, socially, culturally, and even in Rastafari, there is still this big brotherism over these smaller countries. They depend a lot on South Africa. You'll find most of the Nyabinghi members of Swaziland, Lesotho, Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Malawi, and Namibia. They over-rely on the Nyabinghi in South Africa, which itself over-rely on Nyabinghi in Jamaica.
Wow. Okay. So let me ask you, but
I think
the name.
I'm going to.
Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
Okay.
No, you go ahead.
I would say I was gonna cut you in the next 5 minutes because my data is depleted.
Of course. Oh, your data. I thought it was more to, you know, you're recuperating and everything, because I fully understand that. Sorry about the data part. All right, Myla. I mean, you gave us such a wealth of, I wouldn't even go into what I was going to say then. You gave us such a wealth of, I mean,
you can ask your
so much things, right, that you have covered there a while ago, you know, that I don't, you know, it's better that I just kind of acknowledge a lot of what you said too, because you've covered it from the spiritual aspect, the traditional aspect, you went into the diplomatic and political aspect. There's a lot of things they covered there. It's a program that is like a study program, you know, that a person would have to go back again. And you've done a lot, my lord. I could imagine the amount of fight you get, trust me. And I know that might not be the best thing to say, but just imagine. Just as you talk, I could say, boy, I could imagine the haters, even as they're watching this, some of them, oh, that boy Tao Tau. Yeah, they're there. Trust me, anyone.
I was telling my empress here that
Rastafari.
I was telling my empress earlier before you called that you need to have your enemies. You need to have enemies. If you don't have, you must go and create more. They keep you on your toes. They keep you motivated.
And they're your best promoters. Nobody talk about you more than them. Good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they are best promoters. I mean, if you go in to be deluded and thinking that you are money and you will be loved by everybody, or you are a ganja that is going to make everybody happy, then you are confused. You know, you are confused. Particularly in this line of work of Rastafari, you are confused. Here you're dealing with divine jealousy. People who think that the jealousy is divine and their whatever is sacred and so forth. You're dealing with the highest level of madness, because there is a thin line between sanity and insanity when you're dealing with God and religion. You know, some of the people who celebrate them as prophets, they were serious madmen of the ancient time. You know, like you have to be mad enough to do some of the things, you know. So it's the things we overstand, my lord. And,
but let me ask you something quick before you go to, and I know you mentioned that 12 tribes started within South Africa. 12 tribes, well, not maybe as we know it, but still at the same time, I was looking at a documentary. It's a 2-part documentary I saw the other day. I'm sure I know you'd have to know it, you're in the documentary. And it was speaking of, I know sometimes these documentaries may not get the right idea. It's talking about 12 tribes. I'm speaking fast now because of the time. 12 tribes in South Africa, but they describe them as 12 different groups of Rasta. That's what the documentary was describing.
No, it's a 2-part documentary, the one that came out last year, the one I
believe
wrote,
so.
the one I wrote. No, maybe
no, you wrote it?
Yes, I wrote it. When you check it there, it will say written by Tao Tau.
Okay, well, that's the same documentary with some brothers in some animal skins.
Yes, with Bakalipi, different, like we were covering.
Okay.
We have 12 different sectors of Africa, apart from the 12 tribes. The 12 tribes is the 12 tribes. The 12 tribe is part of the 12 sectors, like Nyabinghi, Bobo Shanti, Bakalipi, you know, Bakehase, the Sektloth,
what they would call 12 houses or mansions around them parts.
Yeah, you can say maybe 12 houses and mansion.
Yeah.
But the 12th tribe is the 12th tribe from Reuben to Benjamin, you know, as stated in the Bible.
Okay. I just wanted clarity. I watched the first part of it. I didn't see the second part as yet. And I see a lot of, basically a lot of what you've been explaining here. I could say, okay, I see that. I see exactly what you're saying, even with the breakaway, as you would call it, and such and such. You're saying?
Yeah. If you look at it, those are the original 12 tribes of South Africa. Those elders there, the one with white hair, white beard. Africa.
I could see that.
Those are the original founders.
Since you mentioned Jimmy Cliff, Jimmy Cliff lives in South Africa now?
No, I don't know. I mean, that was 1970. That
No,
was
I know, I know,
1970.
I know. But I was just asking of his whereabouts now, I think. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But in
I just
19
know. I just.
in 1981 though, when is 81 or 80? When Zimbabwe got independence, though, when Bob Marley performed there, what impact did that have? Since you mentioned Jimmy Cliff, and then you just lately mentioned Peter Tosh, so I was just interested to know what impact Bob Marley had, because he was around the same time. I know it wasn't South Africa as
Well,
such, but it's Southern Africa. So I was just wondering what impact he had on Rastafari when he performed there.
well, he had a serious impact. You still have a lot of elders, even non-Rastas, who told you that they traveled all the way to Zimbabwe to go and see Bob Marley. But it didn't end there. In 1989, when Namibia got independent, also Ziggy Marley went to sing in Namibia.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, so we were also thinking that 1994, somebody with Banuela will come and sing for us, yeah, because it was becoming like a trend. Zimbabwe got Bob Marley. Swaziland, although it was not independent, it was not the independent. They got Peter Tosh. You know, and then Namibia got Ziggy Marley. Yeah, and then we were thinking, oh, maybe we'll also get Banuela. They say he doesn't travel, but now this is the last country to be free. He might come and bless it, you know? So, yeah, but then we had Jimmy Cliff anyway earlier than that. So basically, but ever since subsequently, they've been almost every year, you get a couple of reggae artists. And one time, Mutabaruka was coming almost every year in South Africa. It's his second home. Actually, I think he's got a house, or he's got a piece of land in KwaZulu-Natal in Durban. So, yeah. So
no respect, brother.
The impact has been strong.
But as far as the earlier conversation, though, you know, which is very, I think when it comes to, for example, the African Rastafari new faculty for overstanding, you know, I don't feel get the words them in the wrong place. But as it relates to African tradition, though, from my perspective, listen, you mentioned about 3,000 tribes there a while ago. 3,000 tribes. No, that's a serious number there. So obviously, you know, looking at it not from a European perspective or not from a religious perspective too, because this religion bring that about, you know, that I right and you wrong. That's religion. Me right, you wrong. You know, but as you said now, with all these different traditions, you know, they're not all the same. As you say, one are pure idolists. Maybe they're ones that don't even touch the dead. And then there are those that you mentioned sacrifice goats, sacrifice tradition, chickens, pardon me. There are different African traditions and different African cultures. Africa is not a culture, but like it's just one little thing, like the African culture. There's so many different diverse ways. I mean, you know more than me for sure. But I'm just highlighting that in a sense of how I think sometimes we should approach this. Me personally, I see that Rastafari, you know, and I don't want to be, but go ahead. You go ahead. Your time, Sean.
No, I wanted to say in all this diversity, there's a cultural unity. Like all of them acknowledge the existence of the supreme being, of the creator. That is the first, they have their trinity of unity. Like the existence of the supreme being, the existence of the ancestors, and Ubuntu, what they call Ma'at, which therefore is about communal living and performances of rituals, however diverse those rituals might be. So the cultural unity of Africa is made up of this trinity that are common across all of them. So, like, for instance, if you're moving among the Bantu tribes, whether it's South Africa to the Congo, to West Africa, to East Africa, how do you identify them? They use 3 stones when they make fire. They use 3 stones. So,
but you know that's Rastafari.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that is Rastafari.
We do that because
that's how I grow in Rasta. 3 stone, yeah. No play. You can't bring 4 stone and no cold pot.
Because Rasta is African. Rasta is Africans who were taken from these traditions, from these cultures. So
they couldn't erase everything from your mind. So some of things are part of your genetic memory code. They're coded within you. You don't need anybody to teach you. You know, we have a way of opening a bottle with a bottle here. I did it in Ethiopia for some Jamaican mamas there, and they were like, yo, you are a Jamaican. Do you know how to do that? I'm thinking, man, every South African do that. So we have a cultural unity. We have certain things. And one time I was watching. Yeah, you just see other things. You do them instinctively, you know. So my point is there is cultural unity. We differ in terms of traditions, but the culture is one, but traditions, they differ.
Exactly. I like that. The tradition, they differ. Right. But okay, well, just a matter of words then. But even in the diverse traditions then, you know, like this brother was once saying, he was saying he's a professor, and he was saying that he went to an African country. And I mean, he's an African in the sense that, I mean, that's what he defends, but he's a vegetarian. And he said he went, I think this is somewhere in South Africa, the Gambia or one of these places, and he had to talk to the chief. And to talk to this chief here, you had to drink a bowl of traditional cow milk, something like that. And he was saying, man, I haven't done this for decades, eh? But he said he humbled to it. He said, yeah, man, let me just do the thing, and went to the tradition. Now, again, for example, people see me. Now, me, I've never taken none of them DNA ancestry tests. But I know I have 2 parents, I know who they are. I have 4 grandparents, I know them too. I started dwindling away now when I have 8 great, 16 great, 32 triple greats. And that's those 32 more than likely were those that maybe came off of the ship or came here early. So that could be at least 32 different traditional set of people I may be coming from. It may be 16, it may be 8, but most of us here, we're not the same pure thing from that transatlantic movement, you know. But what I'm saying now, at the same time, people would look at me, people see me all the time and say, you look like a Nigerian. Nigerians will see me and tell me that. People still see me and tell me I look like a Maasai. Now, although I would respect, I love the Maasai culture so much. I just love it. But I would never drink no cow milk, cow blood. Neither the milk nor the blood, I wouldn't do it. Even if I was a traditional Maasai, if I was to do a test and you found out that, hey, priest, most of your DNA is Maasai DNA, because a lot of ones, they search for their ancestry to find which culture or tradition, you gave the right word, tradition, they should go back to. My point is, King, that I honestly see that Rastafari in its pure form, or even close to it, is an African tradition. If you want to say by itself. Remember, we're not competing traditions here. Like, oh, this is the right and that's the wrong. But in the West, there has arisen somewhat dynamically a new African tradition well, of course, all the African traditions too, not just the culture, still tend to incorporate things that the other ones do. As you just mentioned, the tree stone, the fire, the drumming, the barefoot stamping on the ground, the locks. Yeah, man, I actually see. So that's why at the beginning of the program, you heard me speak of, you know, a lot of what we do, we have to get back our language. To be honest, to me, the language is one of the key things. A lot of our expressions and our chanting, and so when put in the right language, we'll have a lot more power. But honestly, I know they have different angles to Rastafari. And as I was saying, I don't want to sound biased, but realistically speaking, what we call the Nyabinghi tradition and the Bobo Shanti tradition, and this is my view, to me, a hardcore African tradition, even though those two still have a different outlook, even their concepts too, you know, even their concepts, you know, and that's just my outlook. And I think that even as Rastafari, if we approach each other in that way, where we're not trying, it's not a right and wrong, but it's just different outlooks, because the works, remember your conversation came in different parts, my brother. And one of the aspects of your conversation is the boots on the ground, you know, diplomatic works, food, clothes, and shelter. And to me, a lot of the time, our tradition and concepts get in the way of some of the literal work that we need to get done politically, industrially, economically. And I don't think we have to battle. It's good that we have these conversations. Me, I love theological conversation. Man, I could do that all day. But we don't have to, even if we don't see eye to eye on that. As you said, we are all Rastafari. And we have enough commonality that we can go forward and do a better work. That's why I give thanks for all the work that you have done.
Give thanks, King. Rastafari. Well, it is true. Language is a carrier of the people's concepts, principles, and ideas. Once you understand the language, you understand the concepts that the people use, the ideas, and their principles. Language is a doorway to a culture. The only way to enter a particular culture is to enter it through its language. I studied in Ethiopia for 2 years. The first year I have to spend studying the language. First, I realized, like most African languages, there is no direct translation from African languages to European languages or to Ethiopian languages. Like the Ethiopian language, it put the verb in the end of the sentence. If you're going to say God is love, you're going to say God love is. And in Amharic is Exabier Fikrno. So now I speak 14 African languages. I study so many languages purely from that concept that a language is the carrier of the people's concepts, ideas, and principles. In order to understand the people, their concept, their value system, and everything, you really need to understand the language. And with the language also, you need to understand the etymology, the knowledge about the knowledge. Where does the roots of this word come from? And it helps a lot because with African tradition and African words, what the English linguistics are doing, they use what they call comparative linguistic dynamics. They compare what they have in the Western culture with what we have. It's a comparison, it's not the exact thing. Like the word we use to refer to a primate, a baboon, we say our languages, first and foremost, our Bantu languages are onomatopoeic. The name, it gives itself, its sound, it gives itself a meaning.
Yeah.
We say a frog is hua hua because it go like hua hua hua. We say a human being is motu because it go like tu 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 when you walk, you know. So in name itself and all of that. But when you translate this thing into European languages, they not necessarily follow their own onomatopoeic pattern. So language is one aspect. It's very important when it comes up to this. But also, I know a lot of Maasai brethren who are Rasta and who have stopped drinking the cow milk and the cow blood. And I know that most of Aina, like I've explained to you, that most of Aina, when we turn Rasta, we turn Jamaican, meaning to say, we tend to adapt to what you do. You know, we become vegan, whether you come from a highly meat-consuming family or traditional culture. So we have that. Mostly African cultures eat meat, but they were not eating meat like how meat is eaten today. Like you would have I'd have grandfathers with 100 cows, but that did not mean to say we eat meat every day. We were eating meat once a year. When there is a feast. So meat eating also entered our culture as a ritual, as a religious ritual. Most of African cultures were vegetarian. And most of African cultures are 90% plant-based cultures because we are agricultural societies. So we're people who were into farming, you know, different things, pumpkins, maize, wheat, barley, all of this stuff. So we had our own type of vegetable or plant-based food. So meat played a little role until it was introduced in rituals. And then, and again, it's like after you slaughter a goat to the ancestors who are the living dead, they are not there. So you shed the blood to their shrine, but the remaining meat, where it goes, then that's where the people begin to consume the remaining meat, because they say they are partaking in the same feast. It's the same stuff they say people are saying eating the blood of Christ, or they're eating the blood, the body of a god. You understand? So they're eating a meat that was given to. So the meat thing wasn't dominant, and it is not always advocated. Until today, educated Africans associate meat eating with being upper class and educated and civilized. Most Africans, modern Africans, are eating meat more than the ancient Africans, or even the Africans of 200 years ago or 100 years ago. Most Africans today, they have their chisanyama around the corner, is meat, this, meat, that. And most of these meat outlets are not even here. They're KFC, they're McDonald's, they're Steers, they're American Burger King, and all of this
Murder
stuff.
King.
Yeah, Murder King and all of that. So the meat eating today is being intertwined with being civilized. You are working, you are wealthy. It's poor people who don't afford meat. So they make it like a trend, but it is not entrenched in the tradition. Even when we grow up, meat was not given to children. You know, they'll give you a soup, and then they'll give you a milk with a pap, you know, with a porridge. But meat wasn't something that we're eating as we see people are eating it every day today. You see, so being a Maasai is not limited to meat, the blood drinking. There are other Maasais today who are eating traditional Tanzanian food in the absence of cow milk and blood drinking. So some of those things is traditions that they were practicing in the past. They're getting also modernized. They're getting into the modern thing. But I know a couple of Maasai brethren, Rasta brethren. I have them in Tanzania. I met them in Tanzania, at Kilimanjaro, at Arusha area, who are Rasta and who are vegetarian. And the same in Kenya. I have Maasai Rastafari brethren, or Rastafari brethren who have Maasai background. I mean, the reason why we are Rasta is that we transcended some of those traditions, particularly blood and meat eating traditions. So yes, I will agree with you that Rastafari is a pure form of African expression, but in the absence of its biblical orientation and Judeo-Christian orientation, because now we will argue until daylight come that the Bible is not African. Judeo-Christianity is not African. I will point to cultural practices that are diametrically opposed to African practices and so forth. But my view is, if you have a pure Rastafari of the Congo man, of the Bongo man, of the tropics of Africa, where we come from, the jungles of Africa, we live in plant-based food. We understand that if the next person is a royalty, is my Lord, you know, if the next person is a divinity, we are all gods and all that. Yes, it is a pure form of African expression, and it needs to be maintained and retained. I'm gonna leave you.
I hear the sound.
I'm gonna leave you now.
I hear the sound. Appreciation, my Lord, just guidance and protection. And blessed love. We'll talk again. Rastafari. I will hold the king anymore. The king might even need to use that data. All right, that was a very lovely interview. I don't want to say certain things now he's not here, because I kind of different with that. I wanted to ask him specifically of what Haile Selassie would have say about the Bible. I would always ask people that, especially if you are totally dismissive of it as a Rastafari, and then people accuse me of somehow like playing devil's advocate. No, man, this is an angel's advocate. I'm the one doing the interview. You are a Rasta man. Even if, well, no, let me not put it that way, because I would always be a Rastafari. But I'm an interviewer. So if you're a Rasta man sitting in front of me and you say, yes, you follow Haile Selassie, and then you tell me, no, we don't need to deal with the Bible, I'm going to ask you. I mean, even if I agree with you, let's just assume I totally agree with you. Yeah, because people think that's how I think too. They think that's how I think. So let's I agree with you. But I'm still the journalist. So I'm going to ask you, but my brother, His Majesty has certain speeches, or my sister, where he clearly says that today man sees his hopes and aspirations crumbling before him, and he knows not where to turn. He must realize that the Bible is his only refuge and the only hope for humanity in it. Now, you see, there's certain things like I glory in the Bible, and from a youth, I've come to respect the Bible. And people highlight these words, that's good. But there are other words that are more than good. It specifies that unless a man, you see, when those words, unless a man comes to that understanding, he must realize that this is his refuge. And without it, there's no hope for salvation. Those are some key words. Now, again, as the brother just said, you could talk till the sun come up about that. But at the same time, ones must be able to think for themselves. I believe in one's thinking for themselves. You know, a lot of what I do is just to assist ones to think for themselves. That's why we put many different things on the table so you could see the options and say, wow, you know, I didn't know that. Think for yourself. It's a very, very important thing. And the brother touched so many things I would like to even talk about. So many different things. You know, I wanted to get into the new faculty of understanding of Rastafari as well. I wanted to get into a bit of, you know, his time as a liberation fighter within the Liberation Army in South Africa, fighting against apartheid. You know, I wanted to get into some more information on their baptism, but I think he says they don't do that anymore. And the brother obviously has evolved over the years. But I'm sure we will do that with him again, where we will definitely find the time to go into that aspect of it. All right, so where are we now? So yes, family, we definitely give thanks. Of course, you know, this is the shock of the hour. Honorable Priest Isaac here with you, giving thanks for your presence. And of course, no, you're not really the shock of the hour. You're in the tiger's nest. It's not really the shock of the hour. But of course, we just highlighting to you for sure. Remember once again that it is this Wednesday. This Wednesday, I'm looking forward for your presence with us. We're talking about the must-see lecture, Chalice in Wonderland. Definitely looking forward to each and everyone in the house. This is something that you don't want to miss. Some of you already have your chalice by now. Well, this is my lengthy expression here. Is it a long shank? Yeah, it's a long, long shank. But for sure, you could definitely you should definitely tune into this lecture. This will be online. This will be definitely a webinar. Of course, all you have to do is to contact us via the email precise27@gmail.com. Give you more information on how you can be there. Of course, you can make your payments using the Cash App, Atonra 2723. This is going to be a wonderful reason, man. You definitely do not want to miss. Give thanks, honorable family, for your presence with us. Give thanks for joy. Give thanks for righteousness, as we definitely give thanks for General Tao Tau and his beloved family for being with us today. Yes, until we satter in again, give thanks. Holy Emmanuel I, Selassie I, Jah, Rastafari. Blessed.